Good afternoon. My name is Mark Vanberg, and this is my kindergarten PLC protocol steps for creating plans using student data. So the first step we want to do is make sure that we're collecting data in a universal manner. In my case, it is DIBBLES, which is the assessment tool that is used to progress monitor and evaluate literacy growth from grades K to 5 within our building. Because I'm in a school that has such a high turnover rate, we often have new teachers coming in. We want to make sure that they are familiar with the DIBBLES terminology. Because when you analyze the DIBBLES data, you'll see stuff like NWF, which stands for nonsense word fluency, LNF, letter naming fluency, FSF, first sound fluency. We want to make sure that teachers are aware of what those terms are and what they mean. And then lastly, we want to have teachers understand that we're going to input data into a universal Google spreadsheet, which can be used to analyze class data as well as individual data. Now, after we have a way to collect the data, we want to make sure that we're analyzing it in relation to the students or to the state standards as well as the benchmark goals. In the case of kindergarten, it's how well can students identify letter sounds, identify phonemes within words, and blend CVC words. And we're going to use DIBBLES tools to view class and individual scores. And also, we can use the DIBBLES tools to create groups based off the data that we have at hand. Step 3, we want to set goals and determine who qualifies for title services. Title is a reading intervention service, and students who score red or well below the benchmark are qualified for it. And that color, red, yellow, blue, and green changes at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, at the end of the year. So we want to make sure that students who are qualified for title are getting there. And lastly, we want to make sure that students are measured in relation to their middle of the year benchmark scores. And I think it's important for reading specialists and school leaders to identify these goals and just make it very clear for teachers. So in the case of kindergarten, their nonsense word fluency should be 17 per minute, LNF, letter naming fluency, 23 letter names per minute, FSF, first sound fluency, 30 per minute, and phonemic sound fluency, 40 per minute. Step 4, we want to determine the instructional strategies moving forward, which ones are best, and are we targeting students' weaknesses? We can use this time to review our literacy block routines to make sure students are getting the right amount of phonemic practice each day, or phonological awareness each day. And then determine which interventions are best for each group. And then we can plan new steps moving forward. Step 5, review what our results are telling us. Are our adjustments that we've made, are they making positive progress, or do we need to perhaps make changes? And then lastly, we want to make sure that we're using the DIBBLES data tracker to evaluate how close students are to reaching their benchmark goals. Step 6, I included this just because, again, our school is so new. We want to make sure that we're reviewing the routines for progress monitoring. If a student is red, well behind, they're progress monitored once every other week. Yellows, once every 3 weeks. Greens and blues, once every 4 weeks. And then we want to make sure that teachers are meeting with their partner teacher or the other teacher who teaches the same grade as them every other week. And then lastly, meeting with Mrs. Fox, who is our school's reading coach, at least once a month or more, depending on how she views our situation. And then we want to make sure that we have a guided discussion protocol for when these meetings take place. We want to make sure that we're determining our learning goals. And again, as a reading specialist and a school leader, I want to have these goals laid out for the teachers just to make sure they're looking at the end goal as often as possible. A means for collecting the data. So how are we gathering, in the case of kindergarten, first sound fluency, phonemic sound fluency, nonsense word fluency, and letter naming fluency scores? We all gather that information through DIBBLES. We want to analyze the data. How close are we to meeting our middle of the year goals? Are we incorporating phonemic awareness exercises 15 minutes a day? This is what our reading coach requires us to do in the case of kindergarten. And are we introducing letters in a purposeful sequential order as defined as writing without tears? And then lastly, I included this because I think this has made a big difference for me in my second and third year as a teacher. Our parents included in the learning process. And then we have our plans moving forward. Are we making any changes to the block? Are we familiar with the testing tools? Are we meeting with our partner teacher every other week? Meet with Ms. Fox once a month and create new groups based off student needs. And then lastly, we just want to make sure that we're all on the same page with our structure for progress monitoring, which is reds once every other week, yellows once every 3 weeks, and greens and blues every 4 weeks. Thank you.